Hello, this is Denise Allen. Today I'm recording this episode from Nanjing, China. I'm going to be here in China until July 2025, teaching English, speaking, and writing at Nanjing Tech University. So if you see fewer episodes from me, that is the reason. I'm navigating also a 12 to 15 hour time difference between me and the United States, as well as various other challenges. So thank you for listening today and for your patience, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Healing Our Sight podcast. I'm your host, Denise Allen. And today I have as my guest Dr. Har Hari Khalsa. He is a highly experienced holistic chiropractor who's been assisting people on their healing journey since 1988. At the Transformational Healing Universe in Los Angeles, California, Dr. Har Hari focuses on chiropractic, medical, and yogic healing. He specializes in several technologies and fields of healing, including chiropractic adjustments, Kundalini yoga, and meditation. The Wim Hof Method, and Sumas laser treatments, formerly K-laser. Dr. Har Hari previously studied under Yogi Bhajan, a master of Kundalini yoga. Through his studies, he gained wisdom and invaluable personal experience in yogic healing for himself and others. Dr. Har Hari earned his Doctor of Chiropractic from Cleveland University, Kansas City, where he enhanced his skills and knowledge in chiropractic care and the latest wellness technologies. And I will put all the information in the show notes as far as the website and all of that. So welcome today, Dr. Har Hari.
Thank you.
You reached out to me, which is actually an unusual experience for me. And so I did check out some of your appearances on other podcasts, and it's been quite interesting to me to see what you're doing with the types of healing modalities you use in your office. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how those things can relate to our eye health and actually healing strabismus, since that's what I tend to focus on a lot, is strabismus related eye issues and things that I'm concerned about moving forward with my own vision. So let's go ahead and dig in. Tell me a little bit about the kinds of things you notice in your practice when you're dealing maybe with people who have an eye issue, or that's maybe their primary concern.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm a holistic practitioner, so people can come in with any symptom, eye, ear, nose, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm gonna always scan them for the whole body with the Cyberscan, which is a German biofeedback system I've been using for over a decade, and that's going to give me the biggest picture of their history, including their eyes, like, if they've had injuries, infections, any toxicities, nutritional deficiencies, psychic or emotional traumas, looking for all of that, right? Because if you just focus on one thing being the symptom, you're going to miss 90% of why they even have that problem.
Yeah.
So then the brain itself is part of the eyes. I mean, the eyes are literally a part of your brain because it's growing right through your head. And so they're the closest thing to the brain in your body. So with the Cyberscan, we're scanning the entire nervous system. So we're looking at all parts of the brain. We're looking at the whole, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system to see how that's playing out. Because a person, the typical pattern is somebody that's always in fight or flight because of trauma. Mm-hmm. And so that would be like considered a form of PTSD. And that will create this loop pattern where they're stuck in their symptom. And the reason they get stuck is because they're stuck in that pattern that got started from whenever they had a trauma.
Yeah.
So that's really how I, as a holistic practitioner, that's where I'm coming from. I'm not an eye doctor. So
I know.
although I do have experience with the eyes, I healed my own eyes using the Bates method.
Right. And, I asked that question knowing that probably people are not going to come into your office and say, hey, I have strabismus. Will you help me? Right. Because no one thinks about the body as a whole unit. Right. And they wouldn't even probably think, oh, I'm going to go in there and he's going to help me with my vision issues.
Right. And the thing is like, I like to work with other practitioners. So like if someone, has an optometrist or ophthalmologist and they're already getting treatment, what I do will just complement that. It's really more of like holistic care where we're getting, the underlying issues associated with the main problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explain a little bit about what the Cyberscan is, because I don't think people have heard that term or know what this device.
Well, it's pretty, I would say very unknown because the company it's a German biofeedback system that got started probably 25 years ago in Germany. And it was really a research-based tool. It wasn't the people who developed it were like researchers and physicists, very high level type people that wanted to figure out how to scan the energy body of the human, but also Cyberscan works with animals as well and plants. So actually anything biologic can be scanned with a Cyberscan. Because they're basically looking at all, because anything that grows, either a plant or an animal, has an energy field associated with it. Sometimes they'll call it the morphogenetic field, which is like the energetic template that your body forms from the embryo, right? When a sperm and an egg come together, there's an explosion that literally creates a spark, electricity, voltage, and then that starts to multiply, and that the genetic expression is controlled by that morphogenetic energy field. And so the Cyberscan is the first device that I'm aware of that can actually measure that field accurately and then give us like a pretty comprehensive picture of the person's whole history going back all the way to their childhood and even beyond. In some cases, it will pick up the epigenetic imprints that they've had from their lineage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And then that gives you an idea of what you can do to address any of.
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing is we go through the whole report with a patient. It takes like about an hour to go through it because it's a pretty extensive report, but it'll show us, very detailed things about all the major body systems, the brain, circulation, digestion, hormones, pathologies, different, I don't like the word cancer. I use like bad cells or degeneration, but it'll show us if somebody has a tendency for those type of things. So I have to be very careful about how I explain it to patients because I never want to like scare people to say, oh, you have this such and such disease. The Cyberscan doesn't diagnose. It's not a medical diagnosis. It's an energy diagnosis. Okay. So it gives us either, where the energy is blocked or low or not working properly. Right. So that's the term that I use. I don't talk about, oh, you've got this such and such disease, it's whatever. Even though it will give me that information, I would always tell a patient, you got to go see a doctor if you're worried about that. But generally, they've already done that. Most patients already kind of know what's going on, but sometimes they don't. And, but the Cyberscan will tell us the whole picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once you know that information, then you have some other things that you're going to do to help address those issues, right?
Exactly. Well, mostly what I get into with probably the biggest issue that I see with almost everybody is they have to deal with toxicity.
Mhm.
Cellular toxicity is huge. It's probably at least in the top three things that cause problems is, the accumulation of heavy metals, pesticides, forever chemicals, nanoplastics. There's literally like 80,000 different things that are floating around in our environment that pretty much every living being on this planet is getting exposed to at any one time. Even animals that live far, far away from cities, like polar bears, have those chemicals in their body. Unfortunately, it's our whole planet's been been toxified by human generated pollution, right?
Yeah.
And so that to me is like a core issue that I teach. Initially is like, okay, let's get rid of your toxicity, as a baseline, because that a lot of times what happens, what I see is if you get rid of the toxins out of the body, and we'll get into how I address that in a minute, but a lot of times that's enough that their symptoms go away because you just got rid of all the things that were causing the symptom.
Right.
So, cellular interference happens from heavy metals, these, pesticides like glyphosate. Well, probably the number one cause of leaky gut is glyphosate, which is found in non-organic, processed foods that
Yeah.
they spray it. Even, vegetables that are non-organic, they spray everything with glyphosate.
Right.
And glyphosate causes leaky gut. And then it also causes mitochondrial dysfunction. And that's another huge thing is how do we heal the mitochondria? Because that's the energy factory of our cells is the mitochondria. But first we have to get rid of the toxins. So that's generally the first thing that I get into when I'm looking at a person's scan is, where they're compromised with toxicity.
Okay.
And the cards that we make, by the way, this is the card. This actually includes detoxification and drainage formulas, literally homeopathic remedies go as a frequency format on this remedy card that the patient wears like on a necklace around their neck. So when they're wearing this, the magnetic field is imprinted with the exact frequency that helps address that underlying issue. Being it a toxin or a pathogen, it helps the body remove the interference energetically so the body can start to heal itself. So this would be the first line of defense, let's say, of helping clear the toxicity. But on the other hand, like I'm also a huge fan of using zeolites. Are you familiar? Do you know what a zeolite is? Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not actually.
Okay. Most people aren't, and that's why it's good. That's why I'm really happy to be able to share this stuff because I only really found out about zeolites about a year ago. And a friend of mine sent me a video of a patient who had multiple bad cells. I'm not going to say what it is. You get the idea. This woman had bad cells in her brain and
Mhm.
was told, literally zero chance of living. And she went on these zeolites, taking them every hour for like, I think it was 10 weeks. And in 10 weeks, all the bad cells were gone out of her brain. Yeah. I was like, whoa, that's interesting. So I dug into that data. There's research on this, by the way, which I'll share with you after the show. I'll send you the research notes about the zeolites. But basically what the research shows is that it literally pulls out every kind of toxin, heavy metals, chemicals, the glyphosates, all the forever chemicals, the nanoplastics. It pulls that out of your cells.
So what
So
is it that you're taking? Is it a pill? Is it what,
it's in a liquid form. It's
a liquid?
drops. It's just like little drops,
Okay.
10 drops. The typical dose is 10 drops twice a day or four, depending on. your health. Maintenance is twice a day if you just want to, because we're constantly getting bombarded with these toxins 24/7
Sure.
our whole life.
Yeah.
So it's really a product that you want to be on, just like brushing your teeth every day. It's that kind of thing. Like you want to keep flushing these things out of your body for the rest of your life.
Right.
So the maintenance dose is 10 drops twice a day. But if someone has a disease or, bad cells, they're going to go 10 drops every hour to supercharge the detoxification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Interesting.
anyway, so that's how that's, and then again, like I said, the rest of the remedy, like if they have an eye issue, like because we're focusing on eye health,
Mm-hmm.
if they really do have an eye issue, the Cyberscan will actually pick up the eye issue, but also what's causing the eye issue, which is the important thing, right? And
Yeah.
so that goes on this card. When the patient wears the card, it's literally removing the interference that's blocking their eyes from functioning properly. So that's that's why I love this system, because I really believe that treating the cause is far more important than treating a symptom.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it depends on what kind of an eye issue we're talking about, because I can see the application to, say, macular and those degenerative types of eye issues, or even maybe, my father's cancer that he had in his eye, right? The Because he had melanoma of the eye. But if we're talking about the brain eye connection for a strabismus patient, then yeah, it's great to get rid of all the toxicities, but is that going to make the connection happen?
That's a really good point. So you need both. I think you need, because the neurons and the mitochondria, that's what's fueling everything, right?
Mm.
That's the basic currency of the cell, is the mitochondria and ATP production, right? So if that's being inhibited because of toxicity, it's going to make it 10 times harder to fix a problem, right? Even if you're, like, say, doing Bates method or color therapy or whatever technique you're trying to use, you got to get that body in the most optimal purified state as you can. And now you've got a better playing field to get that function to work better.
Yeah. Well, and that makes me think about how much easier it is when we're teaching a child how to focus the eyes properly in vision therapy versus teaching an adult. We've had not only habits of how our eyes work for all these years, but we've also had lots of other trauma and lots of other toxicities, like you're talking about, that are going to block the progress along the way,
Yeah, exactly.
potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then, the other aspect is the nutrition, because a lot of times what Cyberscan will show us, if somebody is low in amino acids, certain minerals, certain vitamins, that all needs to be accounted for as well. If you're vitamin A, we all know vitamin A is super important for your eyes, but so is vitamin D. And so is uh, all the amino acids, and also your neurotransmitters, because that's what's transmitting the signal. So the Cyberscan literally picks up all that stuff, the specifics. It gets very detailed in picking up, exact issues that can be interfering with nerve flow. Because essentially that's what we're dealing with, is nerve function. The eye is a nerve receptacle, like a receptors for nerve transmission.
Mm-hmm. So what is that card made out of that you have your patients wear? You've
So the
shown it to me
card, okay,
several
so it looks
times.
like a credit card, but it's a very special, that's a 6-layer thick, very dense, medical grade magnetic strip.
Okay.
And what happens is, after we do the scan, we put this card into the Cyberscan device, and it imprints the frequency algorithm of their scan. So the idea being, it's like okay, the theory is like this. If you take the exact issue, for example, like you're looking in a mirror. If you look in a mirror and something's out of place, like let's say you have a hair hanging down over your eye, you just you you go like this because you don't even that's like an unconscious thing, right?
Yeah.
Our we know when something's not right. Our bodies have this innate ability to recognize dysfunction or disease, dis-ease, lack of ease, or interference. So what we're doing with the Cyberscan card is we're presenting it to the innate intelligence of the body. And as soon as it sees it, it's like, oh, that's not right. And then it corrects it. See? So the body, given the right signal, knows what to do. And that's how this works. It's like a signaling mechanism. Basically, it's like information medicine. And it's kind of along the lines of homeopathy, but it's really different than homeopathy because homeopathy is based on guessing, the practitioner is guessing, oh, well, maybe, this substance will cause a reaction that makes the body heal. But it's really a guess because you don't know for sure. The cyber scan is
Yeah.
based on the exact reading from their body. So the energy that this is matching is exactly like hand in glove with that person. So it's very customized for that person.
So, yeah, and a lot of the homeopathy practitioners will do energetic testing, right?
Yeah.
But but they're testing the muscles of the body, where this is the high-tech version, I guess I would say, of
Well, the thing
using
that
the body's
differentiates
energy.
this than because I initially as a chiropractor learned that whole system of 8K muscle testing. So
Mhm.
I'm very expert. I've spent decades learning how to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the cyber scan is operator independent. In other words, with muscle testing, you can easily influence the results just through your mind.
Yeah.
But with a cyber scan, it doesn't matter who's doing the test. It's going into a machine. The machine is a neutral bystander as much as you can make it neutral, right? So
Yeah.
there's no like hanky panky. It's giving you what is raw data directly from that person's energy field,
Right.
which from what I've seen is far more comprehensive. To me, it's like the ultimate healing uh, diagnostic for energy, where we're seeing everything. Because the problem with most like even holistic doctors is they end up focusing on symptoms
Mm-hmm.
and then they miss the underlying stuff. So, you know, and, hey, I had a piece of popcorn in my tooth and it was causing a huge amount of pain in my gum. I knew that was in there. I just didn't have any way to get it out. But that was like a very direct symptom. I went to my dentist. He pulled it. It took him 1 second. He pulled that thing out and the pain was gone instant. So treating symptoms like that it makes huge amount of sense. Like the same with chiropractic. If your vertebra are out of alignment, pressing on a nerve, and you adjust that vertebra, it allows better nerve flow. So that's like a direct correction of interference,
Mm-hmm.
which 100 years ago worked. It worked wonderfully. That's what started chiropractic as a profession. But we didn't have all that toxicity 100 years ago. They literally only had physical problems. They didn't have all 80,000 different toxins that could potentially mess with the body.
Right.
And so, that I feel like the cyber scan is the next evolution of the concepts of chiropractic and Chinese medicine kind of blended into one because they both have a similar idea of removing interference, either of nerve flow or meridian flow, right? In acupuncture, they're removing interference with needles and herbs. With chiropractic, it's adjusting the spine. And actually, some of the most advanced acupuncturists, they adjust the spine too
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because they know that the spine is the main conduit of energy from the brain into your body.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting. So What about if we're dealing with, say, floaters in your eyes? So I was talking to a friend recently and she's having eye floaters. Sounds like that's just an eye issue when,
Well, yeah,
when you're
again, but the
talking to
thing is,
someone.
you know
So,
what? That's actually something that Cyberscan picks up.
okay.
It will pick up if you have float. I mean, or it'll pick up the floaters. And then again, why do you have the floaters? Is it because you had an injury? Is there did you get exposed to some toxicity or infection? Like I have a friend I'm treating right now that had a really serious mycoplasma infection that got into his eyes, right? So he's actually starting to lose the vision because of the infection. But that bioptron light we were talking about earlier, just shining that in the eyes for a couple of times, he already feels huge improvement in his eyes.
Yeah.
So
So when you're saying we talked about earlier, this is going to confuse people because what happened was we had a conversation before we started the podcast.
the Cyberscan doesn't always pick up the exact symptom. It'll pick up sometimes the exact symptom or something similar. Or the other scenario that happens is a lot of times people have so many different things going on that it takes like 3 or 4 sessions of wearing this card, because the card is a remedy that lasts for 2 weeks. And what happens is, let's say if that eye issue, like the floater, is, say a chronic issue, but let's say they have other issues associated with it, like liver or digestive issues, or some toxicity issue. Sometimes it'll take 3 or 4 rounds of wearing the card before the actual symptom that they're coming in for shows up on the report.
Okay.
So that's common. Sometimes it'll show up the very first time if they don't have a lot of other issues. But I tell them right away, like, it's a process. Working with a Cyberscan takes at least 6 rounds to clear all of the different things that are blocking the energy of the body. So, but generally, though, it's going to pick it up at some point in the journey. They're going to see that thing come up. And then when they start wearing that remedy, then it's working right on that issue.
So you mentioned related issues with the liver. And I'm familiar with that because my dad had melanoma of the eye that then went to his liver, and that's what he died of. And I don't think people think about the eyes being connected to the liver, like, ever, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you deal with that connection and improving the function of the body that way?
Well, that's a great question, because that's exactly what the Cyberscan does. I mean, it literally will say, I'll just give you an example. It'll say, let's say eye issue. It'll say eye. Maybe they do have, that's pretty rare, but let's say they do have that issue. But then it'll say after that, liver, like it'll show the connection. And when you make the remedy, it bridges the gap from the cause to the symptom, right? So it has the ability to connect the two things so the body can resolve it.
Okay.
So that's the key, is finding that, that connection. Why is it there? And it could be, what I find also that people don't even think about is trauma. 9 times out of 10, the trauma will cause the physical, or can be very correlated with it. So, and it'll even show up like, I'll just say an example, like say a lung, they have like a breathing problem, right? And then we go into the psyche, and we're testing the psyche, and it'll literally say fear or trauma caused breathing issue. Like it'll link it right in the report. Like, there you go. That trauma inhibited your lungs or your eyes or your liver, whatever it is. And then when it works on that trauma, the physical starts to improve because you release the trauma.
Right. Well, and as I was doing my own healing journey for my eyes, I looked at a lot of those books that talk about the energy that's behind the condition, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that bothered me the most was that none of them had questions specifically for strabismus. They
Yep.
had every other eye issue out there, but they never had any questions dealing directly with that, that connection. And I've been frustrated for years because of
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it'd be fascinating. I know you live in China, but it would be really fascinating to have you send me your hair saliva sample because I'll run you. And then we can come back in a next, like another episode, and we can look at the actual what it's saying.
And it would
It
go
might,
back to that beginning stage of my life when my
yeah. I mean, it'll pick it up. If it's near the surface, it could take a few times, but if you've cleaned up most of your issues and that's your main issue, it's gonna most likely show.
but I don't have strabismus right now. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it would show you maybe your history. But if someone like if you have somebody here in the States, for example, listening to this podcast, if they wanted to do a scan, like
Mhm.
we can just do like an experiment. I'm willing to do that too. Like if somebody hears this and they're like, hey, yeah, I want to see why I have strabismus. You know what I mean? We can
Yeah.
do that and then come back and we can look at the report and go, oh, there it is. Like that's the connection, Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you ever have people do other things like people always talk about liver cleanses or taking other things or something that maybe is a little more available to people who are not in LA area or,
Yeah.
don't want to do
Well,
the
yeah, the scan. Well, just so you know, I do, like I said, people send me samples from all over the world.
okay.
Mostly I like to work with people in the United States just because it's easier. But yeah, I mean, as far as just general detoxing, yeah, I mean, the main things that I really like right now that people can easily get are the zeolites. There's a specific, I'll send you that so you can put it in your show notes, but
Mhm.
there's a specific company that did the actual research that showed the elimination of all of these toxins, the whole class, the heavy metals, the forever chemicals, the pesticides, the nanoplastics, that whole range of nasty things that accumulate. The zeolites, like literally to me, it's like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, but on the inside, because that stuff accumulates inside of our cells.
Yeah.
So the zeolites are the easiest where you don't like, I'm into doing cleansing and things like that, but that's really radical doing extended fasts, which is fine. Like I totally for that. But most people have really busy lives and all they
Right.
want to do is put some drops in water and drink it and they're cleaning their body, right? It's much easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
Uh, but occasionally I'm a big fan of fasting for sure. Water fasting, also dry fasting. But that it's like, climbing Mount Everest or something to do one of these, fast. Like it takes a lot of effort and you have to discipline yourself and it's hard you can't work, it interrupts your life. But if it's going to save your life, it's great. I do it on a regular basis as a maintenance thing. Like once a year, I do an extended fast. Usually between Christmas and New Year's, I'll fast 5 to 7 days, just to dump all the toxins and reboot all of my cells. Fasting is the best way to heal the body.
Yeah. I actually have a practice of 24-hour fast once a month.
Yeah,
that,
if you
that
do
is,
that on a regular, consistent basis, the guy that I study fasting with, he says do it once a week, but once a month is still good.
yeah,
But he basically says if you do it once a week, you'll be the healthiest person you know. It's just because you're cleaning the body. It's the best way to clean it. Autophagy is only really happens when you fast.
exactly. Yeah. Um, to follow up on that, where would someone get the zeolites that you're talking about?
I can send you the link that for the company. It's called Avini. And they can just order it directly off that site. Yeah.
Okay. But would people need to have a diagnosis or some kind of
Not really. I mean,
need?
not necessary, but one of the things that I just recently got into is called oligo scan. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called an oligo scan. It's an optical scan where they scan 4 points of the hand with a light sensor, and it tells you all the heavy metals that you have in your body. It tells you your vitamin deficiencies, and it tells you mineral deficiencies. So it tells you a lot of data, like if you have heavy metal or arsenic, or if you're lacking in important minerals like magnesium, zinc, things like that. That's a great scan, and that's starting to become very popular now. And it's the most efficient way to do it because it's more accurate than a hair analysis or blood analysis. It's doing it through light sensors on the hand. So that's another scan that people can do for heavy metals.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll send you information on that too, that you can link in the show notes or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like this is going to be really scan heavy.
Yeah. I
Information.
mean, you don't have to do a scan, but I mean, I think it's useful because I did it. I actually had that scan done. And even though I do a lot of cleansing all the time with zeolites and fasting, I still had heavy metals. It wasn't in the danger zone, but it wasn't in a zone that actually is good. Right. And so it just showed me, wow, even with everything I do, it still wasn't enough. Like I literally need to double the amount of zeolites that I'm taking, which I'm going to start doing right soon. But that just showed me, it's like, wow, we are toxic.
Yeah.
Especially a guy like me who does fasting and zeolite, and I still have heavy. Well, I have metal in my mouth still, so that's probably why I have mercury. I'm getting that all removed soon, but that's a constant source of mercury into the body, is
Right.
the metal fillings.
So you have a holistic dentist that you're seeing, I'm taking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a whole plan. They do what's called a cone X-ray, where it's like a CT scan of your whole jaw. Have you heard of that? Do you know what that is? Cone X-ray.
I have not heard of that.
It's like a 3D scanner, so they can see if you have cavitations, which, by the way, for vision is a huge thing because the cavitations usually form when you have a root canal, and it's basically a pocket of infection that forms in the bone at the base of the tooth.
Right.
And if you have a cavitation, and you don't take care of it, that's a constant source of infection into the body. So
That,
that's another thing.
that's the thing that my daughter just had taken care of, actually. My daughter that we were talking about when
Yeah.
we talked earlier. She had the cavitations treated and it didn't do what they told her it would do. So I'm thinking she needs some kind of follow up to that to help.
I would say she needs to get a scan of her heavy metals and her, get a bit like the ovule scan. That's probably the best way to tell what's going on with their mineral and, either deficiency or excess of heavy metal, vitamin. Because if you don't have that stuff handled at a bare minimum, you're going to have it's going to be insurmountable to turn things around. If you don't have enough magnesium, zinc, if you're high in arsenic or mercury, those are the most common ones, right?
Right.
But you really need to know that as a baseline, I think.
Yeah.
But also the Cyberscan too. Like if she, sent me her hair saliva, I could scan her and I would be able to tell her a lot of information about what's going on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also talked a little bit about the bioptron
Yeah.
when we were discussing things a little bit earlier. Um, what other things could you recommend as far as someone who's really interested well, because my podcast is mostly
Eye
for
related.
vision, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, addressing some of those vision issues that are
Well, I mean, like you said, so the Bioptron technology it got developed in Europe, and it's based on advanced physics. It was actually Nobel Prize winning research into C60 called it's carbon C60. Carbon C60 is a naturally occurring carbon molecule that forms literally, they call it a fullerene or a buckyball. It looks kind of like a soccer ball, but it's literally just carbon molecules, right? And they found that structure, when you shine light through the carbon C60, it changes the dynamics of the light when it hits the eyes or the body, and it initiates or it stimulates cellular repair on the DNA level. So it's fantastic for the eyes. They have it both ways, where they have a pair of glasses you can get. They're called Hyperlight Tesla wear glasses that have the C60 embedded in the lens. So when you're wearing those glasses, the light, when it hits the eye, will start to cause cellular repair. So if you have macular degeneration, a retina issue, or even cornea or whatever is going on with the eye, it's going to start repairing it with that light. And it also goes all the way to the brain because your eye is connected. So they've seen changes in the neurotransmitters and the hormones in the brain wearing these glasses. So it's a phenomenal tool. And they're a little expensive. I mean, those glasses are, 350 to 450 in that range, but it's literally healing your eyes. So, you can't think of it like, oh, I'm just wearing these glasses. No, you're actually healing your eyes if you have an eye issue.
yeah.
And then they also have the Bioptron light, which is the same technology, but instead of a glasses, it's a light that you can shine into the eyes or literally anywhere on the body. And it does the same thing. It's initiating cellular repair, DNA repair, and rapid healing of tissue. And I've seen it already. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I had a patient who had this mycoplasm in the eye itself, and he just from 2 sessions with a Bioptron light, he felt amazing, amazing difference. And I let him wear. I have a pair of the the Hyperlight glasses. He put them on, and literally within like 30 seconds, he's like, "Oh my God, I can see better." Like it was like that quick. You could feel the difference. So it's a very powerful technology, this Bioptron. Um, and it also heals the body too. So I've seen it literally treat like neuropathy, where people lose the feeling in their feet.
Mhm.
I had one patient who it literally went away after 1 session. I don't know if it's completely cured, but all their symptoms went away from 1 session with a Bioptron light,
Was that just shining the light on the feet?
just on the feet. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had another woman who had a very bad pancreatic cancer. Actually, she was, you know, very bad situation, and she was in extreme amount of pain. And we shined that on her abdomen where she was having the pain. She literally in 10 minutes was out of pain.
Wow.
And so it's unbelievable. I had another woman who had third-degree burns from her chest all the way up to her neck. Real bad situation, like that all whole area, third-degree burn. We did 3 sessions on that scar, and she already had felt like normal, like the skin was growing back just from 3 sessions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Amazing technology.
So when you're using it for your eyes, are you only healing your eyes or with those glasses, or does that repair the whole body?
Well, it'll repair the eyes and the brain both, because it's literally sending that signal from the C60 all the way into the optic nerve. So they've seen changes in the biochemistry of the brain with these glasses. Yeah.
Okay. But if you wanted to deal with the scarring issue, then you would shine the light on.
Yeah, then you would use the light on the body itself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And or you can use it in the eyes too. Like you can do both. You can wear the glasses and then shine the light. It's safe to shine it in the eyes directly.
Okay. I'm just thinking of all the people that I know that could be helped with that. Okay.
No,
Yeah. It like everyone, right?
yeah,
But for chronic conditions specifically, I
yeah,
think that could be amazing.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I've taken a lot of your time today, so we probably ought to wrap this up. I think this is going to be really interesting for people to just get a new perspective on some of the other technologies that are out there for for healing our bodies as a whole, not just healing our eyes.
Yeah, well, it's all connected. That's the main message I have. It's like, you know, it's weird because I kind of knew all this from day one when I first became a chiropractor 40 years ago.
Mhm.
I always called myself a holistic chiropractor, and I didn't even know why I did that. I was like, I'm holistic. I'm not just I'm a holistic chiropractor.
Yeah,
And I've always searched for things that helped me get to the core of, the reason why people get problems.
right. Yeah. I actually had a holistic eye doctor on my podcast before too. And I think there's just not enough holistic medicine out there.
Yeah, we need to promote the heck out of it because, like in the biggest issues I think on this planet are the lack of understanding of holistic living because it's not just, you can't think of it as it is a treatment way of treating, but it's also a way of living,
Right.
living a toxin free life, living well. I don't know if you know who Jack Cruz is. Do you know who Jack Cruz is? He's a brain surgeon.
Okay.
You should look him up because he is the person I actually look at the most who comes from the medical field, but fully understands the power of nature to heal the body, right? So when you have that combination of hardcore medical knowledge, but with the understanding that nature is the ultimate healer, that's the biggest thing because a lot of doctors they program that out of their brain, so they don't even they're told that's not even a thing. Like, don't look at that. But that's actually probably 90% of the problem, or the fix for the problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I wanted to just maybe touch on one more thing that we um, talked about earlier, but we didn't bring into this podcast. And that was the affirmations that go along with that card
yeah,
that you are
yes,
providing to people. Because I feel like the people who are struggling the most have a certain mindset about their vision, about their potential for healing. And if you're dealing with the energetics of it and you're dealing with your fixing the core problem, which comes from within, right?
yeah,
The way you're feeling and thinking about everything,
yeah, exactly.
then um, that's a powerful part of the healing process.
Oh yeah, and that's exactly, and that goes along with when we make the card. We also give them affirmations that the Cyberscan literally scans their psyche and picks the affirmations that are the most appropriate for what they need to unlock the mind. Because a lot of things are stuck in the mind, and a lot of it's unforgiveness, self-love, letting go of the past, having abundant attitude about life, all these things that are programmed out of us for the most part.
Right.
We're made to believe that we're less than. And so the affirmations, fully embody the principle that you are a divine being that, deserves to have full health and happiness both, and plenty of, you know, stuff. Like, including money and joy and happiness and great relationships. And that's the type of nature of what these affirmations actually address. Is all of it. Like where are you stuck in your life? Where are you lacking? Right. And then just giving yourself permission to let it go or to embrace it, whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah. Well, in one of the episodes of a different person's podcast that I listened to, you actually listed some of those affirmations.
Yeah.
So I think it would be really cool. You probably don't have this available, but how the affirmations would be different for someone who had, say, a binocular vision issue. I don't see those addressed ever anywhere. So maybe that's
it would say something like what I could imagine it would say is, I love what I see. What I see is God. Or it could be different things, but it's individual for each person because each person has their own, specific issue. It could have been that they, were angry and they didn't receive love for some reason. Like healing that dynamic of a relationship where they weren't fully loving in a relationship, right? That's a big one, I think, but every person's different. So it's never the same. It's always based on that individual person, their energy field.
right.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you could give some just parting words of wisdom as we end the podcast today, what would you like to share with my audience?
I mean, the big thing I would say is look to nature for healing. Getting in the sun, getting on the earth, getting in the water, ingesting the healthiest organic whole foods you can get, periodic fasting. I mean, everything that connects you back to nature, that's where the ultimate cure is in nature. I mean, that's for thousands of years, humans have known this, but for some odd reason, the last 100 years or so, we got hoodwinked by some very rich people to make us believe that we needed drugs. Yeah. Which is a complete lie. You really don't need drugs, but they help sometimes, in an emergency. But 90+% of what people need is all found in nature.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We may end up doing a follow-up depending on what happens with my daughter or my friend or with me as far as, scanning. But it's been really great having you today. And thank you for taking your time to share your expertise with my audience.
Yes, no, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Healing Our Sight podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Please share and also join our Facebook community at Healing Our Sight to leave suggestions or comments. Have a great day.